I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you as always by Lay of the Land, and it's where we take a look at those top stories making headlines every Monday to Thursday. So let's take a look at what's happening on the Hump Day edition, and we begin with news of protests taking place at the moment in and around Ben Gurion Airport. Now, protesters have said that trains will run as normal and they won't be disturbing any routes or any major routes with the exception of those closest to the airport. Joining the protests are veterans from the 1976 operation in Terbi, which saw Prime Minister Netanyahu's brother, the iconic Yoni Netanyahu, fall in battle. Tomorrow is expected to be another day of resistance as protests will take place across the country. Meanwhile, it has been reported that the Prime Minister intends to cut short his trip to Germany, and no more details are given as the Prime Minister does not want protesters to get wind of his itinerary. Meanwhile, the Times of Israel are reporting that the Kohelet Policy Forum that put together the proposals for judicial reform are starting to walk back some of the proposal. Now, the right-wing think tank have said that they believe that a compromise should be reached, a compromise including broad-based consensus. This is one of the criticisms that protesters and the anti-reform movement is leveling against the coalition, that it is their proposals that doesn't involve a broad-based agreement or consensus that would see other parties, opposition parties, be able to contribute. What is also interesting is that they've also said that the override clause can be removed completely. Now, this is the main bone of contention because, as we've been discussing at length here on the Israel Brief, that would give a Knesset majority of 61 the ability to overrule any rulings by the Supreme Court. And this is what many see as a direct attack on Israel's democratic soul. So we will be following this story with great interest because it is an interesting development indeed. Meanwhile, last night the European Union Parliament held a debate on the proposed judicial overhauls. Israel's Foreign Minister Eli Cohen cautioned the EU Parliament against interfering in the domestic policies of the State of Israel, and the foreign policy head answered him back by saying that this is tough love. I don't think any EU parliamentary country would appreciate Israel having debates on any domestic policies that they may have in their countries. The foreign minister also cautioned the EU about the type of language that has been used by some of their spokespeople, saying that there is a equivalence being drawn between Israeli victims of terror and Palestinian terrorists who engage in these kinds of attacks, saying that there is no moral equivalence and that they need to be aware of the type of language that they are using. National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir has decided that an anti-crime initiative that would be funded by the AJC, that is the American Joint Distribution Committee, will not go ahead any longer. The National Security Minister called them a leftist organization. Now, the AJC is one of the oldest Jewish organizations in the world and has been involved in funding welfare, rescue and relief projects for over 100 years. Ben Gurion went on to say that they had not provided him with their semi-annual report that reports on their activities for the last year and a half. This is a move that has been met by a lot of disdain and criticism by many across Israel and the Jewish world. And finally, Israeli baseball is on the map. Who knew we had a baseball team? But we do. Unfortunately, we have been knocked out of the World Baseball Classic in a 10-0 victory by the Dominican Republic, but the last couple of matches, the one played just a day before the knockout, which was historically perfect. I'm not a baseball fundi or even a sports fundi, but I'll take that on the authority of baseball pundits, and it has firmly put Israel on the map. And this is really great to see, because we don't often hear about massive achievements in Israeli sport on the global stage. So this is a welcome development. Before engaging in their match, Dominican Republic players and Israeli players engaged in a little bridge building, getting to know each other, getting to know a little bit about each other's culture, and that proves once again how sport, no matter what it is, whether it's rugby or baseball or fencing or tennis, is a great harbinger of coexistence and builder of peace. And that's where we're going to leave it with your headlines today. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. We've got some excellent articles there. One from Africans for Peace, another by Jonathan Feldstein on what it was like to be a father receiving a message from his daughter to say, don't worry, I'm okay despite the terror attack that has just happened. Read more about that on our website. It is also on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page can be found at Lotlsite. So that's at LOTLSITE. If you find us, like us, follow us, share our content. Our YouTube channel is at The Israel Brief. Thank you to all our new subscribers. And don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed, please click that red subscribe button. And hey, encourage your friends to as well. We want to get the news from Israel you don't hear in the mainstream media out to as many people as possible. And we're on Twitter at LayOverTheLand5. I'm Raylene Marks. This is the Hump Day edition of the Israel Brief. Don't forget to join me again tomorrow as I bring you your top stories.